Friday, last day of the week, last day that we are studying the unfinished business of the civil rights movement, and you have two things that you have to turn in by today's end. Thing number one is your daily assignment. It's called Voter Suppression Today. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I want to spend more time talking about your summative assessment, your final essay, but I do think it's important that you do this daily assignment and learn a little bit about the ways that African Americans are sometimes still finding it difficult to exercise their right to vote. We know that after the Civil War that the 15th Amendment was passed, which made denying the right to vote based on race illegal. We know that the Jim Crow South found some ways around that through literacy tests and grandfather clauses and stuff like that to limit black people's right to vote. The 1965 Voting Rights Act changed all that and gave the right to vote, or at least the ability to use the right to vote, to many more black people living in the United States. But it is wild the new ways that people have found to deny, oftentimes, people of color, African Americans specifically, the right to vote. It's still happening in 2020 and it's election year, so I think it's important that you read about some of these issues and show a general understanding of how those things are still limiting the right of African Americans to vote in the United States. That is the daily assignment for today. But more important, folks, is your summative assessment, also due today, about the unfinished business of the civil rights movement. I've got it pulled up on Canvas right here. I want to walk through it question by question, pregunta por pregunta, la agenda pendiente del movimiento por los derechos civiles, so that I know that you know exactly what the expectations are for each of these questions, and you can write me a super quality ensayo. Question number one, it says, what does it mean to say that the civil rights movement has unfinished business? ¿Qué significa decir que el movimiento por los derechos civiles tiene una agenda pendiente? A really general response will suffice here, folks. All you need to do is tell me in general, what does that mean? When I say the civil rights movement has unfinished business, generally, what do I mean to say? Show me that you understand that, and you'll get the point for this first question. Question number two, what are some specific examples of achievements/successes of the civil rights movements of the 1950s and 1960s that helped to achieve racial equality? ¿Qué son algunos ejemplos específicos de logros y éxitos durante el movimiento por los derechos civiles de los años 1950 y 1960 que ayudaron a lograr igualdad racial? Chicos, throughout this week we've been studying unfinished business. But I have mentioned several times, as have the articles that you've been reading, business from the civil rights movement that was finished. Logros que se lograron durante estos años. Show me that you know what a couple of those things are. Show me that you know a couple of the achievements, a couple of the examples of the business that was finished during the civil rights movement. Because to understand the unfinished business, you should also understand the achievements that were made. So again, the second question, super brief. Algunos ejemplos de logros del movimiento por los derechos civiles durante los años 1950 and the 1960s. Question three, pregunta tres. What are three specific examples of the unfinished business of the civil rights movement in which we still do not have racial equality today? ¿Qué son tres ejemplos específicos de la agenda pendiente del movimiento por los derechos civiles en que todavía no hay igualdad racial hoy en día? This question is the heart of your essay. This is the heart of what we did this week. This is what we studied. We studied different ways in which the civil rights movement still hasn't really been finished, still hasn't really been achieved. Show me some different examples of the continued fights of the civil rights movement in the modern world. This is where you want to tell me about things like economic inequality, educational inequality, modern day voter suppression, and maybe a bunch of the different things that you read about either in Tuesday's article that gave a really general overview, the USA Today article, or some of the sources I've made available to you in other articles in this module. Entonces, lo que quieren hacer, chicos, es descubrir tres ejemplos de áreas en que todavía estamos luchando al movimiento por los derechos civiles, usando ejemplos de los artículos que ustedes leyeron esta semana. This is the heart of your essay, and this is where you don't want to be too brief. Give me some details, give me some specific examples, give me some explanations So I can see not only that you can find 3 examples, but that you understand them. And obviously you can use the articles as resources, but you should put this in your own words too. If you want to quote and stuff like that, more power to you. But putting stuff into your own words is what really shows me that you understand, que tú entiendes lo que estás escribiendo. Question number 4, pregunta 4. What are some specific examples of efforts that people are making to create more equality in these areas? ¿Qué son algunos ejemplos específicos de esfuerzos que personas están haciendo para crear más igualdad en estas áreas? This is kind of a continuation of the last question, of number 3. Here's the distinction. In the last question, you were describing the problems that still exist, the inequality that still exists racially in the United States. Here, I want you to show me that you understand some of the solutions. Aquí quiero ver que tú entiendes algunas de las soluciones a los problemas que has descrito en las últimas oraciones. So if you're talking about educational equality, tell me about the problem, but here tell me about the solution. If you're talking about economic injustice, tell me about the problem, but tell me about some of the proposed solutions too. So I know that you know that not only do these problems still exist, but there have been several methods that have been proposed, some which you might agree with, some which you might not. But nevertheless, that you know what these methods are that have been proposed to try to address some of these continued inequities and inequalities between races, between white and black people in the United States of America. The 5th question, la quinta pregunta, la última pregunta, is the last question, and it's a hard one to get wrong, guys. In your opinion, what is the most important issue that we as a country should focus on today to help achieve true racial equality in the United States? En tu opinión, ¿qué es el asunto más importante en que debemos enfocarnos para lograr igualdad racial verdadera en los Estados Unidos? I just want to know what you think. You've shown me an understanding, hopefully, up to this point. You've shown me that you understand some of the different problems and some of the solutions proposed to fix those problems of racial inequality in the modern day United States. Now, if you're in charge of that civil rights movement, of the addressing the unfinished business of the civil rights movement, where would you start? What's most important? I just want your honest opinion here. I'm curious to hear after this week what you think about that question. So the only way you can get this one wrong, folks, is if you don't answer it. La única manera que puedes contestar esta pregunta incorrectamente es si no la contestas. Give me your opinion, dime tu opinión, y ni más. Remember, folks, these summative assessments, it might only be worth 10 points, but because it's a summative assessment, which is like a fancy way to say a test, it's worth 80% of your grade. So it is very much in your interest to do a good job on these and to put some time and thought into them and really make sure you deliver a quality product. Because these are the assignments, these end of week summative assessments that really make a significant impact on your grade. The formative stuff can move you a little bit here and there, but this is the stuff that really has a big time impact. So you want to do a good job. And part of doing a good job is if you're unsure about something, you ask questions. Reach out to me via email, via Canvas. If you want to set up a Google Meet or a Google Hangout, I'm down to do that. It would be good to see some of you. Whatever you need to do to make sure you do a good job on this essay so that I can give out a bunch of good grades and watch grades go north as we head into the second half of quarter 4 as opposed to south. That'll be it for this week. That'll be it for the civil rights movement as well. Next Monday, we're going to start with some 9/11 stuff. So I'll see you then.